And then I start all over again, do the same thing, catch near about a minute. On the second trip, on the second time of fishing the creek. And when I fished a stretch out, it would be when I get down there and catch over 3 or 4 or 5 turtles. So I'd quit that place and move on and then start back with a 10, 15 like that.
Per day.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what happened to Tallahassee Creek with what kind of animal you were catching and how long did it last?
Tallahassee lasted 3 years. Another way you catch them things is in the wintertime. And I've done it. You can get a premium price for them too, but turtles hold up. They'll get under a log there, about halfway buried up, the end of the hull will be out. But they'll get up under a log for the winter rains and all, and they hibernate for the whole winter. And on a real still frosty morning, you could go down, float real easy, and go down, and you see a bunch of bubbles on top of the water, fine bubbles. And if you look, you know there was some turtles there somewhere. Because there'd be several always in the wintertime come back to the same place to spend the winter. And they'd be in our turn hole where there wouldn't be much current even when the creek got up. You got a lot of rain, you know. But anyhow, you find your log and you bump it and you see the turtle scooch a little bit or something. And you see a little bit bigger bubbles come up. And you just feel along that log there and catch one right behind the other, sometimes 5 or 6 out of one thing like that. And that's something that I never heard nobody else doing, but I've done it. You find that you can find the turtle. You want to be as quiet as you could. And when you round a bend or something, behind that bend usually be where they'd be at. So it wasn't in the main current of the creek, you know. And sand wouldn't cover them up completely and all that. But you find them little fine beady bubbles just floating on top. You wouldn't see none coming up. Now once you got to punching and pulling them out, so when you get to see them bigger bubbles. But there wasn't much fight to them. They wasn't really at themselves. They was half asleep or something, you know. And you didn't have near trouble with them as you did the ones you caught in the summertime.
Wow. Tell me about one particular log. Tell me about what kind of animal did you find underneath that log in that wintertime? How many?
That'd be a loggerhead turtle. And it'd be from 3 to 5 or 6 usually. But I'd done caught them in the summertime too.
There was one wintertime, I think you told me you caught about 14.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what kind of animal you caught. Was it wintertime or summertime? And tell me about that little trip.
If I'm thinking about the same one I told you, I found them under 2 places. One of them was under a bank that they'd hollowed out, but I could still get the tail end of them. They had always had the head, one end head first, but turtles had holes, like an alligator got a hole. He goes into Texas.
What kind of price were you getting for what kind of animal?
I was getting $1 a pound for the loggerhead, and that was all I was catching, really. I always bought some in to eat. I caught frog, geek frog, shot turkey, stuff like that. You wasn't supposed to, but I carried a gun with me. We had wild turkey for Thanksgiving. And other times too, them too. I got the pictures in the house.
Tell me about getting bit by a snake. What kind of animal did you get bit by and when? What were you doing?
I ain't never been bit by no snake.
You never got bit by one coon hunting?
Oh yeah, that was when I was, that's before I got married. Me and one of my neighbors, we coon hunted. I had a coon dog and he had one. And that was a cottonmouth. He was a big one. I had a lot of trouble with my leg, but he didn't get a good bite on him, and we killed him.
Tell me about Lewis Baker, and tell me who he was and what was his name.
Well, he didn't get justice in the film, because during the film making, he paddled the man that made the film. And I don't think his picture's in the film at all. And he went every day that we went and fooled around everything. And he paddled that fella, and they didn't put his picture in the film. He's a good fellow. I mean, one of the finest.
What was his name, and how was he related to you? How was
Lewis Baker, he just met me. He married one of my.
You can go ahead and say it. Lewis Baker. You can just say Lewis Baker was so and so, and he married so and so.
He was really a bricklayer, but he got fooling with a turtle with me, and he paddled the cameraman Jim Hubbard in that film I made.
Tell me about wintertime. Was winter good? Was all winter good? Talk to me about
No, I didn't do much turtling in wintertime. I deer hunted and stuff like that, turkey hunted, squirrel hunted, rabbit hunted, coon hunted.
What time of year was best for turtling?
When the water got warm in the spring of the year, when they come out of hibernation.
How many years? Yeah, how many years did you turtle? Tell me what you did for how many years?
Well, I hauled produce every winter till I went in the antique business. In the antique business and the bottle business. And that was a full-time job. Used at auction, I used all, and I've made trips all over in Alabama and places like that there, buying antiques house to house, knocking on doors. And I kept an antique shop for, I say 25 years. 25 years I had an antique shop. That's the last thing that we done.
Was that good business? Tell me about it.
That was awful good business. You could buy the stuff for nothing and get a good price for it.
How much you reckon you made on what kind of business doing that?
Well, there wasn't no limit to what you could make. I got hooked up with a auction man, and I had an antique shop. I had a man named Earl Sinclair that would come to the shop every week and load of stuff. And I had to buy it. I bought every Monday just like going to work. I'd leave before daylight and come in after dark. If I didn't load plumb up. I had a rack on my pickup. And I just like having two pickups. And I could make sometimes $400 a day, and sometimes wouldn't be but two. But money even then ain't like it is now. Back then, the people working for $6 a day at sawmills, and some making 8 at places like a masonite plant and so on like that. And I could tear it up with, with antique business was much better than any kind of a job you get. And I was getting pretty old for labor, any kind of a job doing.
Tell me how many years you did turtling, and what were you doing? What kind of work were you doing in those years?
Well, when I wasn't turtling, I was hauling wood or something. I hauled wood off and on all my life till I went in the antique business, bottle business and antique. And then in the winter times, I hauled apples from North Carolina and peaches from South Carolina.
For what?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's sprinkling rain. Do you need to go to the bathroom? If you do, I'll get the key from him. Give me.
What'd you do after hauling produce or hauling?
Well, I had something always to turn back on. Like in the wintertime, I'd be hauling produce and all, and then I went till I went in the antique business. And when I went in the antique business, I stayed in the antique business. And I hauled stuff to auctions, and I bought some stuff at auctions. Had an antique shop, and it paid off extremely good. And I caught loghead turtles from about 55 to 63 or something like that. I think the film was made in 62. And anyhow, when I quit turtle doing it, I just quit it. I went in the bottle business and then the antique business. I stayed in the bottle business for years. I don't know exactly how many. And then I went straight into the antique business.
How'd you sell your antiques?
I had a shop. I sold some through auction. And Earl Sinclair from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, would come once a week, and he'd buy $1,500 to $2,000 worth of stuff every week.
How would you? What would happen on the weekends with your stuff from your auction? How do you handle that checks?
Handle what?
The checks, the people's checks. Who opened up for you on Sunday
Oh,
morning?
the bank would open on Sunday for me. And they said around here that I was the only man in Jones County that the bank would open on Sunday for. And I was known for that for a long time. But his banker would come down and open the door and let me in, and he'd cash all the checks on Sunday. Because the reason for that, there was one fella that hauled from north up Pennsylvania around there, and he'd always come down to the auction, or most of the time would. He wanted money in cash to take back to Pennsylvania. So if we have the auction on Saturday night, and Sunday morning this banker would open up and cash my checks for me. And I had plenty of money in the bank to cover the checks in case it was bad. So